60 years ago this week, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made his only visit to Seattle. And this week, the Northwest African American Museum hosted a celebration that brought his son, Martin Luther King III, to the Emerald City. In tonight's Your Voices, he sits down for an exclusive interview with KIRO 7's Deborah Horn.
What do you call yourself?
Just Martin.
Just Martin.
At least that's what my wife calls me.
Well, you definitely have to go with
and my friends.
He shares a name with one of the most famous people in American history, so one could be forgiven for thinking there is very little left to learn about Martin Luther King III's famous father.
Because my understanding is your dad, by his friends, was called ML.
Yeah, he was called that, and at one time he was called Little Mike, because he started off as Michael, and when he was about 6 years old, my grandfather changed, they both were Michaels, the name to Martin Luther.
There is an ease about this Martin Luther King. His mother, Coretta Scott King, was concerned about naming him for his not yet famous dad while living in Alabama's capital city.
I think she instinctively knew. Being in Montgomery in 1955, I was born in 57, but the bus boycott began in 55, so Dad was thrust on a stage that became a national stage, and so she instinctively was concerned about having to live up to those standards. But of course, Dad won out.
He was just 10 years old when his dad died, so it was his mother who helped set him on a course for how to live in the shadow of a larger-than-life figure.
One of the things she used to say when I was young, you don't have to be a minister, you don't have to go to Morehouse College, you don't have to be involved in civil rights, just be your best self, and we will support you.
But of course he did follow his father and grandfather to historically black Morehouse College, joined the fight for civil and human rights too. His younger sister, Bernice, not he, answered the call to the ministry.
But 2 out of the 3 things I have been involved in and am doing.
I think the filibuster must go.
And like his dad, he is not afraid to take controversial stands.
Did you meet with President Trump?
I did. I met with him on the day before he was actually inaugurated.
You were criticized for that.
I was heavily criticized.
Why did you do it?
Because I think that no matter what or who is president, there has to be dialogue with that person.
After all, he says, his father met in the 1950s with Republican President Eisenhower and his Vice President Richard Nixon, and every president after that until his death in 1968.
There's nothing more important than we can be focused on at this time than the expansion of voting rights.
Now he is taking up some of the same causes to which his parents dedicated their lives. And even now, some 53 years after his death, his father's words resonate.
The last book of my father, he entitled it, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. We've seen chaos. We saw the height of chaos on January 6th, but we don't want chaos. So my job, my wife's job, even our daughter, is to make sure people know there is a model, there is an opportunity to create what Dad would have called was the beloved community.
Something he continues to work toward. Reporting in Seattle, Deborah Horn, KIRO 7 News.
Wow, what a story. Now, we'd like to hear about people, businesses, or organizations you'd like us to feature as part of Your Voices segment. Email us at yourvoices@KIRO7.com.